afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NGLCC Sip and Pitch Fridays. My name is Lauren Schweppe. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Director of Programs and Stakeholder Advocacy here at the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to welcome you all to our program today. And just before we get started, I want to quickly highlight, as you all may have seen from NGLCC communications that went out this morning, that early bird registration is now open for the NGLCC International Business and Leadership Conference in Las Vegas, Nevada, this August 2nd through the 5th at the Bellagio Hotel and Resort. This is our 20th anniversary year, and this is the return of our largest signature event, our conference, post-pandemic. So we are really excited for this to be our biggest and best event yet. A little sneak peek for some of the programming. If anybody here is a Jeopardy fan, the amazing Amy Schneider is going to be giving a keynote presentation during the opening session. We are so excited. So if you want to come see Amy or anybody else, or any of our other impactful programming, our team is going to drop the registration link into the chat there for you. We highly recommend that you register as soon as possible, as the event will sell out. So now on to today's program. First off, I want to give a big thank you to today's program sponsor, Johnson & Johnson. And I'd like to introduce our judges from Johnson & Johnson. So to start off, we have Carolini Kaliman, North America Pharma and Medical Devices Category Lead, Jesus Ibero, Latin American Communication Analytics Lead, and Paul Saltiel, North American Consumer Procurement and Category Lead. Thank you so much to our judges for joining today. And now I would like to give you some rules and guidelines for today's presentations. Each company that is pitching today will have 5 minutes to deliver their pitch. We ask that there's only one presenter from each participating company. After our presentations, the judges will have 10 minutes to deliver feedback and Q&A. If you don't have a presentation, no problem. The program is informal and designed to provide real-time feedback for your company's pitch. A reminder that if you're not speaking, please mute your microphone so we can avoid any unintentional interruptions throughout today's program. Sean Honesty from Team NGLCC. Sean, could you say a little hello to everyone on the line?
Yes, hello everybody. Good afternoon wherever you are. My name is Sean Honesty. I serve as the executive assistant to our co-founders here at NGLCC, and I'll be doing our timer today.
Thanks so much, Sean. So as Sean mentioned, he is going to be giving our presenters warnings at 1 minute and at 30 seconds remaining. So that will be up on his screen once our presentations begin. Please don't get mad at Sean when he interrupts you. It is unfortunately difficult to do any sort of ding or gong sound on Zoom. So we found that the best method is just for Sean to unmute himself and let you know how much time you have left. So he's just doing his job. This is a judgment-free zone. It's designed to help you enhance your pitch and grow your company. So all feedback is shared in the spirit of collaboration. And along those lines, our final and most important rule is have fun. So without further ado, I would like to turn it over to our first presentation of round one, and that's going to be Skylar Johnson of 360 Magazine. Skylar, take it away.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. One thing, the Zoom asked to give the recording transmission. Do you mind?
Yep, should be good to go.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that. And okay. All right. So hi, everyone. My name is Skylar Johnson, and I am here representing 360 Magazine, which celebrates racial and sexual ambiguity and is a unisex brand. My name is Skylar Johnson. So just a little bit about us, just some basics. We are an innovative fashion, lifestyle, and culture magazine, and we will introduce cutting-edge brands, entities, and trends to tastemakers in their respective communities. Here are some of our covers. We've featured artists like Tyga, will.i.am, and Bella Thorne, and Demi Lovato, and as well as various others. And you will see a lot of them throughout this presentation. And we are also an LGBT and POC inclusive publication. And we are also working towards being more inclusive towards disabled people as well. So going down here, we work with a lot of major brands and including Universal Music Group and Marvel, and you can see also Jaguar, Rolls-Royce, Toyota, a lot of big major platforms. And we also have cars delivered to us in order to test drive them as well, which is really cool that we're able to do that. And we also work with a lot of subsidiary platforms, including Reverb Nation, Talent House, Newsbreak, Flipboard, Napster, and iTunes. We release a free PDF for the magazine, and we also print on demand, which is used to increase our sustainability. We have 1.9 million downloads, 670,000 visitors, and 110,000 print copies sold. So here are just more of our back issues. As you can see here, a lot of really impressive people have worked with us and have wanted to work with us. We also support smaller artists like Deontay Hitchcock and Jake Guapo. And we were a major factor into the with the marketing of the Ivy Park Adidas campaign that launched late last year. So we were a major factor in marketing that. So 360 constantly raises the bar with a highly competitive publishing arena during turbulent economic times. So we were very active during COVID, and we were able to grow our brand, whereas a lot of brands struggled as a result of COVID-19, which I think was really cool. So we also have launched 2 NFTs, the Merging Versus NFT, which was launched late last year, and the Brinks Animal series, which is launching very soon. We also have podcast 360 Mag, a no nonsense conversation, and we're also getting into book publishing. We also support a lot of these amazing organizations, including Amnesty International, which is a human rights campaign, and Alex's Lemonade, which helps fight childhood cancer. And here's some more information on our distribution. So just a little bit more information on that. We circulate to a lot of major cities around the world: New York, LA, Singapore, Berlin, London, Israel, Australia, South Africa. We have an entire Latinx division, and we also are working towards increasing inclusivity. So we truly are a global brand. And here's some more of our past awards: the Corporate Vision, Global Business Insight, and Acquisition International. These are just more recent awards. We've obviously won more awards than the ones that have shown here. We've been winning awards since 2011. We also have some major social media following, big on Instagram, big on Twitter, and we also launched a TikTok recently in order to help support LGBT, POC, and disabled individuals.
1 minute left.
Thank you. And important to note, a lot of the people that follow us, we have a lot of followers, and including many people that are progressive, entrepreneurial, philanthropic, community focused, and intuitive. And they have a love of breaking news, cars, and athleisure. And we are a business consumer operation, and we are focusing directly towards the consumer. We also, uniquely to us, have a very 50% split male to female split ratio. And we are followed by a number of different brands, including Variety, Missy Elliott, Zendaya, and several large bloggers, also e-news. And more on our advertising. And that is it. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Skylar Johnson. I am the digital media coordinator of 360 Magazine, and I started as an intern, so I know a lot about the organization, and I was very glad to be able to present to you today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. That was a great presentation, and I'm going to turn it over to the judges now. So Paul, we will start with you.
Paul, you're on mute.
Well, then everything's good if I'm not talking and you can't hear me, huh? So Skylar, thank you very much for making the presentation here. So one of the things I always ask every presenter is, who's your audience? And, one of the things that I was initially trying to figure out is, what are you selling us? Almost come up with the why. By the end, you did kind of say, hey, it's advertising. So what I would always recommend is, why are you presenting to the audience? Make sure it's very clear that you're saying, hey, Johnson & Johnson, we would like for you to advertise in our 360 magazine. Then Caroline and Jesus, we would understand what you're trying to sell us. So think always that you're selling to a procurement group, whether it's Johnson & Johnson or any company, make them understand what you're trying to sell. And then what I always kind of recommend is really kind of building the story and trying to get the emotional reasons why it's important for us to want to advertise in your magazine. So again, you're talking about you're focused about people following and so forth. That's great, but also make us feel that there's an emotional tie why 360 is so important. So you may tie it back to say, hey, a lot of the consumer products that these people buy are Johnson & Johnson. And in order to make sure that you're representing our true customer base, this is important to them and you should advertise. So kind of connect the dots from an emotional perspective of why it's important for us to really understand that. And also really understanding that, we'll remember you more if there's kind of a story behind the scenes. So where I would say is that emotional attachment that says, this is how we started. It could be that, I came from, a background where I was abused as during high school, whatever that connection of your customer base. And that's what we'll remember more when there's kind of that story behind it. So that's also critically important. I know you used a lot of acronyms, and let's make the assumption that sometimes we don't know what POC means or other acronyms. So always be clear that there's somebody possibly reviewing or being a procurement person may not know this information or the acronyms that you used. And I saw that there you had a lot of great graphics and content. That's great when you hand it out, but you actually have to start thinking differently when you're actually providing it in a presentation format. So a lot of the key points that you had at the end were really something that you should have had in the beginning. It's almost like switching it around, because you have to give us a reason why we should listen to what you're presenting. And even as you do your deck here as a handout, you can't assume that people have time to go through every single slide, because again, you're one of many emails that we may get. So make sure that it's capturing us from the beginning to want to continue reading slide by slide. And if you were to do this in the next presentation, and let's say you will present to the three of us for the first time, then having graphics is great, but you can't have a ton of words. We don't have time to read that. So you really have to highlight what are the key elements that you want us to remember for that. So I'll stop there and pass it over to Caroline for any feedback.
Thanks, Paul. Yes, Skylar, I think I agree with Paul. This was, I want to say, visually impeccable, right? The content there seemed extremely well done. A few notes from my side. I think you started going a little bit fast, and this, depending on the audience, right, as Paul referred to, the use of the acronyms get us a little bit lost. I was wondering in the beginning, okay, so what's in it for me? Where do we want to get? So getting to that point in the initial few minutes of this is what I'm trying to sell and this is why it is important to you, that's extremely relevant. I did take note here on the fact that you seem to be reading. So I could tell you were looking down, and I'm sure you know this by heart already. So I don't know if this is just the forum that made you a little bit nervous, but definitely try to avoid, especially when you know the content and when you're passionate about it. So it doesn't have to be super formal. You can just bring it to us very naturally. One thing that I also agreed that Paul mentioned, that, for example, number of downloads, that sort of data that you had at the end, I would put it right at the beginning and refer to it on the slide so we can follow what you're saying from what we're seeing on the screen. Sometimes the order was a little bit reversed. the last thing, I think you moved the slides a little bit too fast. So I was trying to get some information from there where you're talking and I couldn't follow. So that's good. But I did appreciate the fact that you reinforced the message, your name, the company's name, everything at the end, because when you have 5 minutes, that sometimes does not stick. And that's, of course, the most important message. So I think that was one good thing, starting and ending with the same note. Just add that what's in it for me when you do it next time. But it was very good. Thank you. Jesus.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you. And thank you, Skylar, for your time and the opportunity to know a little bit more about you, about the company as well. As a communications professional as well, I must say, as the other judges, I really liked the aesthetics, the visual of your presentation. Congratulations for that. I am just like you when I'm trying to explain, to present something. I tend to go a little bit fast by the beginning, but I know how it feels like. One thing that I would like to point, okay, I agree with a lot of things that the other judges said about the things that must be highlighted, some sort of highlight, or make it clear or visually impactful when you are presenting us some big numbers, seeing as the big picture. I don't know, presenting some sort of one page, as we say here, where I work, when you have a lot of things, but present at one time, I think would be easier and better for all to understand. I don't know if I don't know if it's the right time to make this question or some sort of a reflection here, but as we are saying about it is a magazine, something that is very visual. You know, you are selling to people who can see in a normal way. Let us point that way. But as we are talking about inclusion here, regarding include another, I don't know, people groups, how you are dealing, or how the magazine is dealing with including another let us say another population, some sort of blind people with disabilities. Are you using the resources that you mentioned, such as podcasts, Instagrams, and other, I don't know, digital platforms? Are you adapting? Are you complementing? Something like that. I don't know. I don't think it's a question. It's just a reflection to present, as we're talking a little bit more these days regarding inclusion, diversity as well. That's it, and thank you. And oh, Skylar, I want to see this magazine here in Latam, in Brazil too, because I really like the content, all the information you bring us. Thank you.
Right. So some additional, so one of the things, Skylar, we do have a team of 3 other individuals behind the scenes at Johnson & Johnson that's doing a review. And so we will then have probably some follow-up, comments. So you have really 6 people from Johnson & Johnson really participating in this event. So the one thing, we have 1 minute left also is, I was in sales my entire career until procurement in the last 6 years. And I'm actually thinking back when I was first started in my career, it was with Procter & Gamble. And so really think of this as a sales pitch, and we usually use like 3 basic elements. First is stating the situation. And I kind of alluded in the beginning is, tell us what you're selling type of thing, or here's the reason why you should be listening to me. Remember, you threw a lot of stats, bring those stats up front. Then transition, what we call a transition statement. So once you state that fact, then you say, now this is why that you should continue listening to me. And then what Carolina said was the closing of the sale. So once you're done, then you should be asking us, so what are the next steps for me to get a spend in my magazine? So actually close the sale. Because what happens is a lot of us present and go, okay, that's it. Force us to make a comment. Now, we may say to you, well, we can't give you a decision right now. We have to follow up. But make sure you close the sale And again, I'm not expecting you to make sure that we get where we agree for a buy, but I just want to make sure you think of that going forward. Okay.
Great. Well, thank you so much to our judges for that feedback. And thank you, Skylar, for kicking off today's presentations. So with that, I would like to turn it over to our next presenter of round one, Sam Jennings from the Best Bees Company. Sam, the floor is yours.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm going to share my screen here. All right, everyone. I'm actually really excited to be here. It's my first time doing anything related to the NGLCC. My name is Sam Jennings. I'm a professional beekeeper with the Best Bees Company, based in Boston and Cape Cod. I'm calling in from the Cape today, and I want to give you a full sense of who we are and what it means to be a beekeeping service. I'm sure many of you are aware that pollinator health in general is on the decline. Pollinator populations are disappearing in certain areas of the country and the world. And we know that this is due to a lot of reasons, from habitat loss, pesticides, and diseases. Well, back in 2010, our company was founded right here in Boston and Provincetown as a way for Noah, one of our two founders, to continue his research. He is an entomologist, bee scientist, and what started as a small way for him to continue his research has really grown into the country's largest and premier beekeeping service for both residential properties and commercial properties alike. So here you can see some of our Boston team. We've got all of our white shirts on, and we're really proud of what we've built together. We're now in over 22 cities across the country. We've got local beekeepers maintaining beehives for our clients, and we're developing the largest data library in the world on bee health through our PhD-led team and our research-driven focus. And most recently, we are really proud to announce that we are officially an LGBTE business enterprise. So happy to be here with you all today. So I'm not so sure if any of you have heard much about beekeeping services, but it really is the turnkey, all-inclusive, hands-off way for people to have their own beehives. And it's also an opportunity to make some measured environmental impact through the important KPIs that we collect in our research. Honeybees are an amazing organism that people find benefit their lives and their connection to the environment in many ways. It's this reason why companies especially are finding that beehives and beekeeping services as a complement to sustainability programs and environmental commitments is a great way to build the community and engage them and start to actually get some momentum behind these newer initiatives. Additionally, we're really focused on our vision of the world. We start to see these barren rooftops more and more, and beehives are actually the first step we see a lot of companies taking into transforming this space into habitat. So we're really focused on people and companies who want to bring habitat back into the built environment. And like I had mentioned, we are PhD-led and we take a data-driven approach to beekeeping. It informs our practice and it also helps us to better manage the hives. We collect all of our visit data from every beehive our beekeepers visit through an application we developed called Buzz. This allows us to collect a very robust data set on honeybee health across the nation. And it's really important in our efforts to improve pollinator health overall, not just honeybees, because honeybees are an indicator species. They teach us so much about native pollinators that we wouldn't otherwise know if we didn't have the honeybee data set. Bees like bumblebees, leafcutter bees, mason bees, they're all solitary bees, pollinators that they don't have a hive we can go into and look at. So it's really tough for scientists to study them. And so we've partnered over the years with the various organizations you see on this slide here to share our data set and to also look at other data sets collaboratively to really identify where is pollinator health its strongest and where is pollinator health lacking, and what are the reasons in which that is and how can we make it better. One of the biggest things we're learning is that habitat is key, and we can actually measure the biodiversity of pollinator forage around our beehives through the research that we do.
1 minute left.
Thank you. And from that, we can encourage our partners to actually increase habitat and then measure that impact over time on the health of pollinators. lines up perfectly with what we're seeing in terms of trends in the marketplace, with various ESG and sustainability initiatives gaining traction or being launched by companies across the world. Stakeholders and investors are interested in looking deeper into the sustainability metrics and ESG goals that companies are setting. And UN Sustainable Development Goals have been set, in which we've found that the beehives actually play a key role in about 10 of their development goals. Here's a great look at some of our clients real quick here as we finish up today. And essentially, I would love to continue the conversation with anyone here who has ever had any interest in helping out pollinators, having their own beehives, and really building momentum around recent sustainability and environmental initiatives.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam. That was a great presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Jesus to start us off for today's judging.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jem. Thank you, Lauren. Sam, thank you for your presentation. I really like the storytelling you gave us, all the information regarding what the core of the business, the core of your passion about it. One thing that I actually missed, not in a bad way, I'm saying that, please don't take it too personal, but I think you should include or must present as at first what are the main advantages for me, for my company to support, to have these beehives on my roof, on my space. I can separate here in my house and in my company. And also, it's something that I'm really interested too. It's a personal cause here locally, I can say that to you, but I didn't see the advantage also for our society. Okay, for me, I can say just honey. I can have honey in all my breakfast, but for society, I know pollination can be great for flowers and food all around the world. So I think just some things that you should include to point out some advantages in a great way to present it. But that's the only things that I would like to point, because the presentation was great. Thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you. And any suggestions on things to cut is very helpful, because I am condensing a 15-minute typical pitch into a 5-minute. So very helpful. Thank you.
Sam, if I may add, I also agree with Jesus. Storytelling was extremely good in the beginning. So I'm ready to buy bees. I swear to God, like I have no idea what I'm gonna do with it, but I did appreciate the story, and it does take us there. Very good when you explain the market, when you explain the trends. I like how you connect that the sustainability piece is super relevant to the corporations today. So I think we've seen this every single day. So it brings back home, right, to a lot of what we are discussing internally. I also think what you have on the slides was right on. You mentioned the institutions that you work with. You mentioned the clients that you work with. One thing that I was wondering is if you would be able to bring a case study to make this a little bit more concrete. So if you bring something a little bit more tangible for people who never heard of it before, like me, perhaps like Jesus as well, right? I think we can then connect the dots. So that's just the one thing that I felt that was missing, but it was an excellent presentation.
Thank you, Caroline. Good feedback.
Paul?
And so again, we're here to learn off each other. That's why we're all participating. And the one thing, for Skylar, when this is exactly what we were talking about, that he was able to take that slide. Sam was able to take those slides, make it very concise, but you saw that he used, bullets for us to have the visual, because people learn through speaking words and also visual. The third one is touch, but it's very hard to do touch on Zoom, as we know. But at least having those two elements, you have to have that combination, because a lot of people won't take away these key learnings. I agree with Jesus when I was a little bit lost in the beginning to say, what was your company really about, Sam? Okay, so I was thinking is, okay, what's he really selling me? So if you're trying to get corporations to have these beehives, you have to give that reason up front why it's important for me to listen to this. So if you started off talking about sustainability, and if you as a corporation, if you truly care about sustainability in the environment, you don't recognize that bees are the critical component of everything. Like you have to do that up front. That's the way you grab us. Caroline was really excited about buying bees right away, but again, your colors connotated the actual bee itself. And what I made me kind of chuckle a little bit is when you showed the picture of everyone in white shirts, I was going, okay, we got a branding opportunity here. Why aren't you wearing yellow shirts? Why aren't you having your Best Bee logo right on that shirt? Because this is an opportunity for you to brand and make people see, well, what's that shirt you have on? Even if it's out in public, it shows it's about marketing. How do you continue to market yourself nonstop? Because when you're a small business, you got to do things very inexpensively. So, think about that. You may have that, but I wanted to make sure you're kind of thinking constantly about how do I continue to sell. And I kind of enjoyed when you said, hey, I took a 15-minute presentation down to a 5-minute presentation. Guess what? How do you get down to 1 minute? Okay. There's going to be that one opportunity. You're going to be in an elevator and for some reason, someone says, hey, my name is Paul. What do you do for a living? You have to really be able to quickly summarize what you do and get someone excited about it. And so I really want to make sure you kind of think about that. And I think you also did, a little bit what Skylar did. You put a lot of the key facts sometimes in the back where all this should be up front, captivate us as procurement purchasers or buyers to buy into your idea. And you had us captivated on here. So I will probably say, the presentation, the look, the feel was a good feeling, and we paid attention to it because, we wanted to learn a little bit more of details of what your company was all about. So I also wanted to make sure I don't know how you build revenue in sales. Like I was a little confused to say, well, what's he actually do? Are you selling a service? Are you help me in understanding, right?
Paul. So it's probably the most exciting service of contract you'll sign all year,
Right. So make it, as I said, just in the beginning, make sure we understand up front what your service is, why it's important to us to pay attention to your presentation. But again, great presentation.
Thank you. Good feedback, Paul. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, judges. And thank you, Sam, for that presentation. Now I'm going to turn it over to our third and final presenter of round one. Don't worry, we have many more presentations to come after a short break after this presentation. But for now, I'd like to turn it over to Christine from Hootology. Christine, the floor is yours.
Oh, you're on mute, Christine.
Thank you. I just was going straight into it. We ready? Okay, y'all, the 1950s called and they want their research back. Good afternoon, I'm Christine Catalano, and we are Hootology. We've worked with half of Fortune 100 companies over the course of our careers. We are innovative, we use cutting edge technology, and we infuse psychology and sociology into both our research designs as well as our data analysis. We are not your Nana's market research company. Diversity Index, our consumer loyalty assessment, and our custom research. 5 years ago, we created our Corporate Diversity Index, which is an annual study of US consumers that measures the impact of diversity and supplier diversity at the brand level, understanding brand perception and impact on purchase. Here's some quick stats directly from our Corporate Diversity Index that you might find interesting. 69% of people who identify as LGBTQ+ say that a company's commitment to diversity impacts their purchase decisions. That's 18 percentage points higher than the general population. An annual client of ours said, for the first time ever, we're going to be able to build out our supplier diversity strategy with metrics. Our proprietary consumer loyalty assessment, which is derived from McGuire's theory of motivation, is a series of questions asked to your current and potential consumers, helping to understand their buying behavior and brand loyalty. Let me ask you a question. Do you know what makes your consumers loyal to your brand? Is it all the cool new things you're offering, or because you reach them on an emotional level? Do you know what motivates them to purchase your products and services? Well, we do. At least we can figure it out for you. Through using this assessment in our custom research, we discovered that 62% of US consumers prefer to make their purchases based on what keeps them in a status quo, what they're comfortable with, what they know and have always bought. I mean, who really likes change anyways? LGBTQ folks, that's who. Opposite from the general population, the LGBTQ community prefers to make their purchase decisions based on emotions and how that product or service will make their life better, not keeping them in the status quo. Bottom line, this tool helps you to leverage consumer loyalty insights to elevate your marketing and brand engagement in order to maximize consumer spend. We believe radically open-minded research keeps brands ahead of the curve, and that's our job, to keep you ahead of the curve. Our unique approach to understanding consumer behavior includes an eclectic mix of psychology, statistical analysis, and intuitive interpretation, giving us a depth of insight unmatched in the marketplace. Depending on the best way to answer the high-level strategic question that we always start with, we will design a quantitative, qualitative, or hybrid study using one or more of our preferred tech-forward modalities. I'm going to very briefly touch on my favorite three: experiential qualitative, artificial intelligence field focus group, and video capture responses. Our experiential qualitative studies make the research process an experience for our participants. For this one, we were chosen by a virtual reality company, which is now owned by Apple, because we use the latest technology in experiential research, and we always stay on the cutting edge of research methods. For this study, we used biometric vests and had small groups view sporting events in 3 different ways. The results were so innovative and transformative. The VP of Growth and Revenue used them as a keynote speech at Cannes Lions on the innovation stage. The artificial intelligence field discussion group is something we pride ourselves in as being one of the pioneers of using this technology for hybrid qualitative and quantitative studies. This is what it looks like in real life. It's fun for participants and allows us to receive both quantity and the whys behind the topics covered, which really makes this a very useful tool. And finally, our video capture response method. This way of collecting data really allows us to get a whole new depth of information in a fun, engaging, and interactive way. Participants become more open and free with their answers, allowing us to gain better insights about what is most important to them. As Lauren mentioned earlier, we're here to help each other out and support each other. And this is how Hootology can help you to gain better customer insights in order to make smarter business decisions.
30 seconds.
And we would, thank you. And we would welcome the opportunity to meet with, present to, develop a lunch and learn for your internal market team, your marketing team, or any strategy groups, your various business units, as well as any opportunity to participate in an upcoming RFP. Thank you for your time and attention, and I'd like to open it up now to any questions you might have.
Awesome job, Christine. That was fantastic. Carolini, let's start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Christine. It was very good. I can tell you're super excited about this. That is like half of the message right there, right? The energy that you bring when you're presenting. So definitely grabbed my attention. Really like the fact that you brought data and previous examples, you know, the quote slide and then the percentage slide. So that helps us understand exactly where you are. One question that I would have for you, because this is somewhat of a commoditized market, right? So why are you different from the other companies that provide the same exact service? I would have a slide just on that. You know, this is why I'm different. This is what I do different. And this is why J&J will want to work with me instead of your other traditional partners. So that's potentially something that we could study and bring into this slide. And then finally, what do you consider success? If you start working with us, what do you consider success? And how do we get there together? So I would just try to connect it. I think this is the general message after the 3 presentations, right? How do we connect what you're presenting to our business, right? Try to find that one opportunity which you perhaps already have an idea what it is, but that will help us think, okay, this makes absolute business sense and we want to explore this further. But overall, very good presentation. You bring in a lot of energy, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Paul, you want to take next? You're on mute.
Of course, just in case I'm making comments in the behind the scenes here, huh? I will probably reiterate your enthusiasm and especially your tonality, okay? And when people present, sometimes we present sometimes in a monotone way, but you had the highs and lows as you were delivering your presentation, which makes the audience pay attention more, because there's many times that we think that we're just saying something, but we don't put enough emotion to it. So I will say, great job in your entire presentation. You kept that upbeat minutes, which made us want to pay attention to that. The one thing I wasn't sure is that, are you only focused on the LGBT community, or is it broader than that? So I'll ask, you can ask me, and then I may have some more questions after that.
It's broader than that. We take care of everybody. We love everybody.
Okay. And so that's where I want to make sure, obviously you're presenting obviously to the LGBT community here, but make sure that you make it very clear, and then you can come in here. So maybe this presentation, you say, okay, the audience is the LGBT community. So how do I spin that in a different way? Which you did a wonderful job providing a case study. And that's what Carolina said about the previous presentation, is how do you incorporate that case study? And you did that, okay? But if it is the LGBT community, then you have that opportunity to say the LGBT community is worth X amount of spend. So we know the spend is unbelievable from the LGBT community, and this is why it's important for you as a corporation to want to spend the money in this area. And guess what? We can get down to this granular group and provide you all this innovative information, or like you said, whether there's apps or it's whether just the business model that you're using. So building on what Carolina also said is, does your competition do the exact same thing? And if so, how are you doing it better? So I want to make sure that one of the things that each and every one of us will always say, even from our own business partners, is it innovative? If it's not innovative, is it being done differently? And as you know, you compete against very large AORs, agencies of record, for a lot of big corporations. So you would have to really differentiate yourself to say, why are we doing much better than the competition? And then last, you did a great close, right? You closed. And remember, I went back before, state the situation, transition, but make sure that you close, and that's what you did. So I want to congratulate you for kind of really doing a really good sell job in wanting us to ask for a little bit more information in the future.
Great, thank you.
And adding, Christine, as Paul was just mentioning, the way that you closed, but reinforcing the way that you open up your presentation, your information. I really like this. As we say, your enthusiasm and energy to bring all this information in this lovely, this lovely storytelling as well. I really like presenting the information, presenting your company, your team, your services, the way you split all, not all, but a lot of information in just in this story. I really like that. And then the way you present and the way you make us think, make us reflect, actually made us, I don't know, realize or think in the answers you were pinching us, making the questions. I really like the way that you make us these questions and how can we respond to you. the way that you close the session, as I was mentioned, that Paul was telling us too. And we have an expression here in Brazil. I don't know if it's worldwide, but if you can explain what you do, what you are selling to your mom, you can explain to everyone else. So thank you again. I congratulate you because I can explain to my mom how do you sell your how are you selling Hootology. So I really appreciate that too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, judges, and thank you, Christine, for that awesome presentation. So that concludes round one of today's presentations, but I'd like to turn it over to the judges for some final closing thoughts on our three presenters or just general observations from the presentations that we've seen so far.
Can I say one thing? As everyone was presenting, I was going on LinkedIn to try to connect, and I didn't find Christine, and I think I only found Sam. I didn't find Skylar either. So I don't know if you guys are on the platform. I don't even know if I'm allowed to sell this, but honestly, that's the first place that I go to find corporate contacts. So if you guys are not there, if I cannot type in Christine Hootology and find you, something's wrong, right? So I don't know if I'm able to say this, Paul. Are you gonna
Oh, no,
me afterwards?
No, I'm actually.
That's my preferred way to find suppliers. So definitely I would have everyone on the platform there if you guys can.
And I'm glad you said that, Carolina, because I was never a big LinkedIn person. Years ago, we all signed on, but no one ever really followed up. And then in probably the last 5 years, or even a little bit more, now everyone's on. And it's unbelievable from a networking perspective, because there was actually, I was actually looking for a particular capability from a supplier, and out of the blue, an ex-J&J person emailed me in January from LinkedIn and said, hey, I work for this type of services now. And guess what? That was the exact service I needed. So what I learned even before is, the bigger the network, the more people are connected. And LinkedIn is probably, we think Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all that, but guess what? LinkedIn is where people look from a business perspective. And you're absolutely right. It's critical that you're connected to us, friend us. And this way, again, this way you can have that, links. Carolina is going to post things. I may post things. It'll help you connect the dots with us and continue the relationship for a possibility in the future.
There you go. Someone just shared her profile. Thank you, Jose.
I am on LinkedIn, I promise.
Yeah. But overall, great job here. Again, sometimes it feels like we're nitpicking and all these little things, but you have to also remember, as sometimes some of you guys may be small startup companies, maybe in business only for a few years. Some of you are very mature, over 10 years, and the size of your revenue will vary. And so, as you know, probably more than anybody, the competition is fierce out there, and especially in some of these spaces. And then in certain cases, you may be very unique in a space. And, if you remember back, some of the feedback is, how do I be scrappy? How do I do guerrilla marketing? How do I do things totally different in order for people to remember me, but also want them to buy my goods or services? So you always have to maintain, I hate to say that sales mentality of, no matter where you're at, it goes back to the days of insurance salespeople, right? They're trying to sell you a life insurance policy, or, things you don't really want or think about. You have to be excited about that. And Christine, you did a great job in that enthusiasm, because the more enthusiastic you're about your product, the more the audience can get behind you also to say, okay, maybe I am interested in this product. Tell me a little bit more. And make sure that, again, we talked about the close and follow-up, okay? Maybe you don't get any feedback from us for a month. I will say every 3 months, you should send an email and say, hey, I just wanted to know if anything's happening, any RFPs are happening. Always be selling, okay? That's the way you grow your business. That's the way you become bigger and bigger and meet all your aspirations.
Great. Well, judges, thank you so much for those closing thoughts. And thank you to our three presenters that started off round one for us today. We are going to take a short break, but I want to give another thank you to today's program sponsors, Johnson & Johnson, and our wonderful judges for today's program. We are going to come back in about 8 minutes at 4 p.m. sharp. So feel free to go pour yourself a drink. This is Sip and Pitch after all, and we will see you in just a few minutes. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to NGLCC Sip and Pitch Fridays round 2. For those of you who are just joining us for this second round of pitches today, my name is Lauren Schweppe. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm our Director of Programs and Stakeholder Advocacy here at the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. Before we get started today, again, for those of you just joining, you may have seen some communications from NGLCC today, but we are so excited that registration is now open for our International Business and Leadership Conference happening at the Bellagio Hotel and Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada this August. Our team's going to drop the link into the chat here, and I highly encourage you to register as the event will sell out. Again, as a little sneak peek for some of our programming, for our Jeopardy fans out there, the incredible Amy Schneider is going to be giving a keynote presentation at the opening session of the conference, and we are so excited for her and for many, many, many more impactful programmings and speakers that we will have throughout the event. So again, highly encourage you to use that link we just dropped in the chat there to register and get your early bird rate for the conference. I also want to give a big thank you to Johnson & Johnson, today's program sponsors of Sip and Pitch. And in that vein, I'd like to reintroduce our judges from J&J. We've got Carolini Kaliman, North American Pharma Medical Devices Category Lead, Jesus Ibero, Latin American Communication Analytics Lead, and Paul Saltiel, North America Consumer Procurement Category Lead. Thank you to our judges, and we're excited for you to share more of your wisdom during our second round of pitches today. So to start off, we've got some rules and guidelines for Sip and Pitch. Each company will have 5 minutes to deliver their pitch. We ask that only one presenter from each company participates. Judges will have 10 minutes following the presentations to provide feedback and Q&A. No presentation, no problem. This program is designed to be informal and to give your company real feedback on your pitch. If you're not speaking, please remember to mute your microphone so we don't have any unintended interruptions throughout the program. Sean Honesty from Team NGLCC is going to be giving 1 minute and 30-second remaining warnings to you during your pitch. Sean, can you say hello?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sean Honesty. I serve as our executive assistant for our co-founders here at NGLCC. Happy to be here, and I promise I always don't look like a digital clock.
Thanks, Sean. So as you can see there, we've got our super fancy, super high-tech timer for you, but we found that this is the best way to ensure that you're able to stay on time. And again, please don't get mad at Sean when he interrupts you. He is just making sure that you know how much time that you have left. So thanks, Sean. This is a judgment-free zone, so Sip and Pitch is designed to help you enhance your pitch and grow your company, and all feedback shared is done so in the spirit of collaboration. So finally, but most importantly, have fun. And on that note, I am now going to—
Hey, Lauren?
Yes? Pardon?
Never mind. This is Charlene. Never mind. Go ahead. I'm good.
Hi, Charlene.
Hi.
So to start off round 2, we have the incredible Jonathan Wilson from Dub Value Creations. Jonathan,
Wow.
Please take it away.
All right, let me get my share. Can I share screen? I'm going to continue and then I'll share my
go for it.
screen. Great. Thank you very much for having me. This is about WLA Creation. This is our Q2 FY22 overview. About me, the founder. So my name is Jonathan Wilson, President, Chief Value Creator. I founded this company basically based on my own experience. So I've worked with Grant Thornton, Deloitte Consulting, Bank of America, and Accenture. My sector experience has been consumer products, consumer services, financial services, fintech, healthcare, and media and entertainment and technology. And some of my large clients have been not most of Fortune 500, mostly Fortune 500 companies. I have an MBA from UCLA, and then also I have a chemical engineering degree from UC San Diego. Core competencies are around management consulting, M&A, strategic initiatives, large-scale transformations. I also have alliances and partnerships. You can read all this as you'd like. One of the big things that I want to say that in addition to my leadership in running my company, I'm also the chair of the Social Justice Task Force for the City of West Hollywood, and also the president of the UCLA Anderson Black Alumni Association. So with that said, but more about my company, which is, my thing stopped sharing. So I'm sorry, that was me.
No worries, we can pause the
Happens
timer
to all of us every single day.
I meant to move the
that virtual world that we live in.
It happens, I guess. I'm gonna try to find it. Bear with me here.
No worries, take your time.
I have to do a share again.
This all depends on Mr. Honesty stopping that clock.
Speaking of honesty.
Sean's quick on that space bar. He's got it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. This doesn't normally happen to me, but you know, maybe a little, I got a little excited there. I have to admit that. So taking a look at really why we're here, here to talk about my company. So we were established in 2017. One of the big things we focus on is partnering with C-suite leaders to assist them with some of their biggest problems, and some of that can be M&A and some of that strategy related. With that said, we are also 100% diverse. We have two people that identify in the LGBTQ family. We have two people that identify as African American, and they have one person that identifies as Latino. The other piece too is some of our experience has centered around, we've worked with a C-suite of a Fortune 200 company to help launch their new op model, which is impacts about 100,000 employees, and then also across multiple regions globally. In addition to that, we led multiple M&A transactions, at least 15 to 20, and also developed multiple sell side and buy side playbooks. We've negotiated deals, saving people $1 to $2 million. Also led some transformations, operational excellence, and digital transformations. Core competencies for the company are around M&A, corporate strategy, operations. Keep in mind that we are a small business for California, and we also have our NGLCC certifications. For City of Los Angeles, we are currently in the process of getting our DBE certification, which is disadvantaged business, which is tied to minority status. These are our NACES codes as well. If you're interested in learning more about that, happy to go over that at any point at a later point. The next piece. So this is an example of how we do our M&A practice. So we have we do M&A strategy, we do target assessment, due diligence, integration. So these are just kind of examples of what our offerings are within that. So that's M&A playbooks, that's taking a look at your corporate and divisional strategy, also taking a look at pipeline governance, all the way through to integration. In fact, right now we're leading 2 integrations. It was 3, which was very hectic, but now we're leading 2 integrations focused on across the board, from finance to technology to HR, and it's a fun deal. It's just a lot of work. Examples of tools and templates. Some of these have been modified over the years, so keep in mind this is probably the examples that we already had ready to go for this particular presentation. So wanted to make sure you had a sense of what type of work that we do from a deliverable standpoint. And then also keep in mind too,
1 minute left.
That we are moving towards having playbooks for each of our offerings. So very excited to move forward. We're getting great feedback, a lot of referrals. So it's a great place to be in. Very excited and happy to be here. So with that said, if you have any questions, happy to lean into questions. Feel free to email me directly, or you can go to info@dubvalue.com. And that's our general phone number. We're also located in West Hollywood, California. So Thank you again for your time, and let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, and a way to roll with the punches there with that technology snafu. I will turn it over to the judges. So Paul, would you like to start us off?
Again, Paul, you're on mute.
I know. Thank you very much. And I had to push that button because I want to make sure you don't hear background. I have family here for the weekend, so I don't want them to be too noisy and yelling at them. But anyway, so John, thank you. You had a lot of enthusiasm. And I'm not sure if you were part of the first group that we went through 3 presentations. And what I would probably say first is that you have all the elements of a good presentation. It's just the reordering of the sequence of where you need to have it. So for example, a lot of times as business owners, we sometimes feel a little bit, I won't say inferior, but we're trying to validate why I'm important. So sometimes we focus about ourselves for credibility. And so what I would probably say is your capability statement that you had, that should be up front, because it was very clear to me once I read your capability statement, I knew what you were all about, okay? And it helped me understand, okay, this is what you're trying to sell us. And then you go into why, because if I'm looking at pictures of people, because there's pluses and minuses adding people's pictures. There's biases, okay?
Yeah.
And the question you have to say to yourself, just like LinkedIn, we just talked about, people will have biases because of the color of your skin, because your hair is long, because you don't look a certain way. And sometimes we think that's important to have that feeling, but sometimes it could be a negative. And so I'm not saying don't do it, but I'm also saying there's risks that go with it. My first impressions were, hey, these are some young guys, do they have enough experience, okay, in this thing? So think about that, because we don't think about biases, but it's there, okay? And so if you are only in business maybe for less than 5 years, and that's the reason why you're saying, oh, how do I build that credibility?
Well, I had 22 years of experience. I probably didn't say that. So
exactly. See what I'm saying? Right? So I'm looking at you. You look young. Your 2 guys that you put on the screen look young, and I'm thinking, these guys been in business for a couple of years. So I know it sounds crazy, but that's the whole.
No, it's true. I'm actually 45, believe it or not.
But you'll see, you look great.
Yeah.
You're making us look really old now. But anyway,
I'll take it.
so that's fantastic. So see what I'm saying is that people have biases in the audience, and that's why you try to say, what can I do to make sure that they don't negate me right away from the get-go. So in your capabilities, that's what you start out is to say, here's what we do as a company, here's the years of experience that we've done, here are the 5 buckets of areas that we do as a capabilities. Our core competency may be in 2 out of the 5. I want to talk to you about 2 out of the 5, and then give us a case study of what you did and how you did it. Because sometimes creating the templates and the forms, that would be kind of a basic thing that you would expect that to happen. The question is, what are the results that you were able to accomplish by them hiring you to do that? So I encourage you to, if you think about what areas, or if mergers acquisitions is a hot bucket for you from a revenue perspective, then focus a case study there, and maybe focus on a case study in another capability. Don't ever try to sell all 5 buckets all at the same time. You can mention it, but let me focus on these first 1 or 2. Understand your audience and who you're selling to. That will also help you drive, additional buy-in from the client.
Great, good feedback. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate all of that.
I can go next.
Yes.
I think I had the same impressions as Paul in the beginning, Jonathan. I was really looking, is this a resume or is this a company presentation? So, but I have to say, I don't understand the mergers and acquisition market, and that might be the way for you guys to sell it. So I also have to recognize that it might be different, right? I know finance minds think differently. right?
Yep.
You guys think very differently than us. So I honestly don't know if it would make sense for you to reverse that order or not. It really depends on the audience again. So it might make sense in your world, right? In our world, maybe we see the things a little bit differently. One
Well, I
of the
actually
things,
have a med tech client, so it's actually
look at that.
it's very relevant.
Yeah, so maybe you have two different types of presentations depending on the clients, right?
Yeah.
I think that's how we work our resumes even these days. So it could make sense. One of the things that I was wondering when you said, oh, we had, I don't know, the number of negotiated deals. I was thinking, okay, who did you negotiate with? Probably you can't share that information, but then
Yeah.
what was the size or what was the impact? Is that something that you would be able to share? Because that makes it a little bit more tangible for us to understand what is the impact that you're able to drive with your company and why you're different from other companies that would be providing the
I
same
didn't
type of service.
verbally. I love that. I on the slide, I actually had the number on there that I had saved, $1 to $2 million on a deal, but verbally, when I said that, I did not speak the number. So maybe there's truth there.
Just reinforce that, yeah, because of course that would stick to my mind, right? The big numbers. But again, I mean, I agree with what Paul mentioned. I don't know about the pictures. I never thought it from that angle, Paul. So I'm learning from you now that people are biased and they might look at it differently. I'm always thinking that I might be surprised. So my first impression is not the one that is going to stick at the end of the day. So I'm always ready to be surprised towards the end. So Jonathan, when you said
I've had some diversity surprise. I've had some people that are not as great with diversity. So I'd rather them know up front is the way that I just try to solve that. If you don't want diverse people, then don't hire us, please. Please do us a favor. That's what I try. That's why.
And that's a fair stand, right? So excellent for you. Yeah. But overall, good presentation. I wish I knew more about the M&A market, that I could give you additional tips, but that's as far as I can go. But thank you, Jonathan. Very good. Jesus?
No, this is great. I actually, it's surprising. I really appreciate all the feedback you gave me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you, Jonathan, so much for your presentation. I think all the topics were covered here. I did some notes here, especially if I can say, looking through my communications and advertising eyes, because there was a lot of text. That was something that I would like to point out. It was everything there, okay, but it was everything there. So the things that I want to see and to understand a little bit more about M&A, I took a little bit of time to see what the acronym as when M&A really means. And then, well, that's something that I would like to say here, to be ready, to be prepared, visually interesting to the all audience, as I said here before. And then I just must say that I'm also on a brewing. I'm attending a summer program at UCLA Anderson School. It's nice to see a colleague here too. And then thank you again for your presentation. It was really good.
Thank you.
Just to build on what Caroline said, we as clients have to say there's a lot of companies that can do this, right? And cost is going to be a major factor in swaying a business person. Like when we work with our own internal business partners, the cost is going to always be I won't say a number one factor, but pretty up there to say, why would I switch from one supplier to another supplier? The second piece, and again, this is not just for you, Jonathan, this is for all the presenters as we go forward here. Secondly is, are you doing something that's innovative? Okay, and if the answer is no, it's just like accounting, it's 1 + 1 = 2. Then the question is, do you do it more on a timely basis? Do you do it faster than the competition? Do you have a very finite amount of clients so this way you can dedicate more time and get the job done? Think of ways that you can come across as being more competitive than the other ones that we can select from. And a lot of times we fail to think about the real triggers that make us say, okay, I want to spend some time to learn about Jonathan's company. Maybe they are an option.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah, this is all great feedback. It's funny because I actually have a couple conversations coming up that I'm going to take some of this into account. Yeah, great. I mean, it's I think the differentiators are great points. I think I also have to rethink maybe whether or not I include my employee pictures in there. I do want people to know that we are a diverse company, so I will keep my pictures in there. But and then actually in my longer pitch, my real pitch, I gave you guys a different pitch, but in my real pitch, I actually have how many years I've been working, right? So in there. But
just one comment, you said,
yeah,
know your audience. If you know that you're working with a company like Johnson & Johnson who are looking for example, Black owned or LGBT owned, and that's very important to our company, yes, definitely do it. You may have to cater it depending on who your client is. So if you're working in the South where there's more prejudice between LGBT, and so then you may say, I'm not going to tell them.
That's why I have my own company. I don't want to be hired for them. I don't want to work with people that don't want to work with Black people.
Perfect.
I don't.
Yes. That's great feedback because we're all learning, today.
Yeah.
About, it's not a cookie
Don't
cutter
hire me.
approach. It's understand your audience is really what we're saying.
Yeah. I do that on purpose. I really want people not to work with me. I mean, I chose my path for a reason. I could be a partner at a large firm if I really wanted to do it. I didn't.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you for putting me in place. Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jonathan, and thank you, judges, for the feedback. We are going to move on to our second presenter of round 2. So I am excited to now turn it over to Kim Adams of the business team.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is wonderful to be here. I will let you know in advance that I am struggling with some allergies down here in Houston. So thank you for your grace as you're going to hear me talk through this, I'm sure. I would love to be able to share my screen if that's possible.
Yep, you should be able to.
Thank you so much. The business team is a support service resource for traveling executives and businesses of all sizes. For all the obstacles that make remote and mobile business difficult, we provide solutions that make it great again. A full service support team in admin, IT help desk, quality safety, procurement support, and training available at your fingertips for a fraction of the traditional cost. The business team, we take care of the busyness in the background to make your business shine in the foreground. The business team, support by design. The business team provides proven experience in a hybrid environment between remote, mobile, and virtual support. Our experience is industry agnostic. We teach everything that we do to enable companies to be more self-sufficient. These are ways that we teach project teams on how to manage their project budget, how to manage their milestones, how to train each other. We are fluid in a variety of industry vernacular and responsibilities, the retention protocol for a seamless startup and handover of project work. We offer flexible hours, time blocks, so that we're only onboarded when the needs are essential to the operations. Our clients know that once we are on the project team, your responsibilities will be managed. As I mentioned, everything that we do for our clients, we teach our clients to do for themselves. It's very important to us that we enable and support clients' ability, especially in the small business market, to enhance their capabilities and provide better business operations. Here are some of the companies that we have supported and helped. And I'm sure you're wondering, how can you afford such great services? Our billing platform is very unique and flexible. We offer time blocks, which is a set number of hours in a particular month for clients with ongoing projects or who need fragmented support on a foreseeable basis over a determined course of time. This option allows the entire business team, all 5 specialties that you heard of, to support the project during a single billing cycle. We also provide support in an hourly fashion for specific project needs when there's only one event that you need us to take care of for you. We have a specialist who is assigned to that single project. They are engaged until that project is completed, and then we re-engage when you need us a second time, or third, or fourth. Or you can also hire us per event. Are you hosting an event? Well, if you're doing that on the road, you absolutely know how difficult it is to walk into a new city or walk into any space that's separate from your home office and try to be efficient in your work processes. This 4-day package allows for support 2 days prior to your arrival, the day of your event, and the day after to help you close out. The business team is who we are, and this is how you can find us.
1 minute left.
Thank you so very much. And I'm going to save the other 56 seconds for the rest of you.
Thank you so much, Kim. That was a great presentation. I am going to turn it over to Jesus to start us off for judging.
Thank you, Kim, for your presentation. I really like how you and some presenters as well asks us these questions without asking us directly. I like how you managed to provoke some sort of reflection on us, trying to reply these questions for you. One thing that I took note here is, okay, I really like the fact your tone of voice, how you present all the information gathered in these few slides, to present everything that you showed us. It was in a good way. You did this storytelling as well. But speaking of storytelling, I really like the way you provide some companies you already supported, but I would like to see or to know how did in fact you support this company, at least one. Okay, in just 15, 30 seconds, I know it's a little bit complicated, but you just showed the companies you didn't mention, and I would like to know, I don't know, in one tiny example, how did you manage to support this team? Or maybe rearranging the slides that you showed us once you are talking or you are presenting your services, and then talking about the companies you may have this kind of support, and then one quick example of how you are selling the services, how you sold the service for them, and how you are selling the same service for our company or for myself or other companies as well.
Thank you very much for mentioning that. I absolutely put the samples of clients that we've supported to open that dialogue of what type of support we have provided, because it's such a variety of support that we offer. Just in the essence of time, I reduced that and just walked through it. But that always opens the opportunity for more dialogue during, and I'm trying really hard not to cough, so thank you.
No, that's fine. But thank you overall. It was a great presentation.
Kim, if I may add, I think the initial slides had a little bit too much information in them. You might want to leave it more visual and less text. One of the things that I think what was good, and I think Jesus mentioned it was good that you mentioned the list of companies that you support. I also had the same feeling, okay, how does it take me to a case study that I can actually understand what service they provided. I did like the part on how can you afford us. I thought that was a good approach. That was something that none of the other presenters have talked about so far, but that really at the end of the day is what we're wondering, right? When we sit at the procurement chair here. So I'm glad you brought that, and you already had 3 very clear examples of your pricing structure. One other thing that I wanted to say is there's a lot of material that you want to share. And I'm sure you know this. Try to avoid reading so much to provide this content, right? The people on the other side are not going to bite. We're just people. and we just want to communicate and understand what service you're providing, right? So if you work with this every single day, I'm sure you know how to deliver this message to anyone, right? Just because you're in this corporate scenario, right? We're creating this type of platform. It doesn't have to be necessarily super formal. So try to bring it a little bit more natural when you're speaking about it. It doesn't have to be read from anywhere, really. One of the things that might help you guys is reinforce the fact that you are a minority-owned company. I don't know if you had it on any of the slides, but maybe reinforce that either in the beginning or the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that feedback. I appreciate it. I will learn to work through my problems in presenting, but
No.
It only gets better from here.
You hit the nail on the head. I do read from that slide because it's very awkward for me to present my own material. If I'm training, no problem at all. I breeze through it. It's very comfortable and casual. But in presenting my own business, I'm learning to present that from a removed perspective, so it doesn't feel so personal.
Yeah, but sometimes the personal even helps. When you put a little bit of heart in the equation, it helps sell it. You saw Christine going all in, right? So it does help sell.
Okay.
Yeah. So Kim, I'm going to give you some feedback exactly what we're just talking about, the content here. Right now, you're not looking at me. You're looking at a side computer. So I have not felt that you engaged with me. So I'm not sure where your camera is.
I'm actually looking at you on my screen. I was presenting to this.
There you go. So here's, so
now,
this,
you're the one talking.
right. So here's a technique that I teach people, and actually, some of our chief procurement officer, I taught him this. Only have one monitor when you're doing presentations. Do not have multiple monitors. This way you focus just the camera looking at me, because you're not engaging me, you're engaging somebody else in the room when your head's turned like that. So when you present also, if you have to read, that's okay. We all get nervous. And even when I've been doing presentations, probably thousands over my career, there are always going to be times that you don't know the content too well, or you're afraid you're going to miss something. And what I tell people is turn your monitor into a teleprompter, okay? And Carolina mentioned about try not to read. And what you can do is you can have a Word document with all the words that you want to say, but you're looking at me, and then you casually just say, and this is the capabilities that we have, and you can read the words, but do it in a very informal way where it doesn't seem like you're reading. Does that make sense? And this is for all presenters. If you're uncomfortable in presenting and you're a nervous wreck, then I'll say, hey, we all need crutches to hold us up. The President of the United States, they use teleprompters because they can't remember everything, right? Or someone's handed the speech to them. Think of the same thing. You've been handed a speech and you don't feel comfortable. That's okay. We all get nervous and present. I still get nervous today when I present if I really don't know that subject matter inside and out. So that'll be techniques for you, especially in the Zoom world and with COVID, and who knows how many more rounds we have to go through this. You have to personalize this presentation. And by you thinking that you're looking at me, you're not, because your camera's somewhere else. That's why I said use one monitor. This way you're constantly focused on us, but you can read right off your Word document, make the words larger so you can read it. I can't see it. Remember, you can still present. Remember, you can still share your presentation, but again, try to do that as much as possible in there.
Well, I think that's some great feedback. I actually do have my Word document here that I read from, which is taped to my monitor. I only have one monitor, but I'm looking at 5 different squares. My camera is here. You happen to be sitting next to that camera. So I am hearing what you're saying and doing what it is you are asking me to do. I just have a large monitor and there are 5 people across there.
All right, so this is what you do next time. Have the NGLCC or someone, you give the presentation to them, they move the slides, but your screen just has the Word document blown up and you're reading off that, because you don't need that presentation to deliver it. That's the trick, is you can't do both on one screen, obviously, then we can see the Word document. So have NGLC or even a client run the slides and you say next slide, and then you just go and you deliver it, okay? Again, I think you did a great job telling us what you do up front. The only disconnect I had, I didn't know you were selling training. I saw the capabilities, but then I was like, and you mentioned training a little bit toward the end, and I was like, oh, it's training programs that you're offering. Is that correct? Am I?
No, it's not a training program.
Okay.
We business support services, all of the ones that you saw listed. What I emphasized is that everything that we provide, we also teach our clients so that we can enhance their business operations.
Gotcha. And that's where I heard. So think about, just because I got it wrong, hey, that's fine. But make sure you understand some of the words you may say. Make sure what are you selling on there. I think Carolina also mentioned about there's obviously too many words. Turn this more into a presentation or visuals that are small, and then you can speak to the words for each one going forward. Okay, I know we're out of time here, so I'll stop.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thanks so much, judges, and thank you, Kim, for that presentation. So now we're going to move on to our third and our final presenter. I can't believe it. We are finally at the final presenter of this Friday's Sip and Pitch program. So Lynette Stevenson from DALS Credit Solutions, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, everyone. My apologies that I am in my car. My grandson has COVID. He's 4 years old. He's autistic. So I've been babysitting, but still got to show up. So my company, DALS Credit Solutions, located in Central Pennsylvania, was established 2019. We create safe spaces for organizations and small businesses throughout the underserved and beyond. In 2020, the Small Business Administration called on us to get individuals reconsidered for the EIDL loan. With doing that in 2020, we overturned 19 million. In 2021, we overturned almost 64 million for small businesses to be funded. We have 3 products. We do financial literacy, and we also do a comprehensive retention employee program, along with we have a software development. And I'll explain each one briefly to give an idea of what our core principles, what we do. One, our financial literacy. Again, we create safe spaces for the underserved and beyond. We also integrate that into medium to larger organizations. We work with partners with the Small Business Administration, along with medium to larger businesses, University of Pennsylvania, UPMC. We also, our comprehensive retention employee program is to allow individuals to become more loyal and dedicated to their employees. So what we do this with our Credit Growth by Christmas. We allow on an onboarding process that individual employees will now contribute, give contributions to the organization to diversify their financial profiles, along with creating loyalty and creating stronger workspaces within their organization. We also, we have proven that when people invest in our CRE our comprehensive employee retention program, their bottom line increases by 20%. You have less call-offs, again, more employee loyalty, and creating a stronger, diverse environment. Our final is our software, and it's our credit coach app that will allow you to remove the guilt-free shopping experience and understanding which credit card to utilize at the same time. We had 3 offers from Microsoft, Google, and Goldman Sachs. We haven't made a decision yet. We are a minority-owned and not a minority-led company. We have over 29 state and federal certifications. We are also registered to do business 47 out of 50 states. We are also Goldman Sachs alumni, EY 2022 cohorts, 2-time We Thrive alumni, along with 3 awards: Comcast Rise, the United States Women Business Chamber of Commerce, and also City and State of Pennsylvania. My name is Lynette Stevens, and I am the founder of DALS Credit Solutions. Thank you for having me.
Lynette, thank you so much for that presentation. And that is the beauty of virtual backgrounds. I had no idea you were in a car until you said it. So, so well done. Carolini, I'll turn it over to you to start off our judges' feedback.
Thank you. I'm also impressed, Lynette. I have to say, with everything that you mentioned going on, the fact that you're able to deliver that pitch from your mind, I don't know where you're getting this information, in an order that we were actually able to follow, things that are not necessarily super simple to understand. I'm impressed, I have to say. You had the exact things that you wanted to address. I can tell that if only you had one slide, right, for us. And the only thing I'm saying here is because I need the visuals. So it might not be every single audience, but it does help that you refer back and forth to the visual. But I do have to say that I'm impressed by your presentation skills. That just threw me out there. You knew your material, you knew your numbers, you knew the exact order to go to things. You did mention the certification. You mentioned all the companies. I was like trying to find, okay, how can she improve this? This is crazy. I cannot think of anything. So do just add maybe one slide, a single page that would bring that all together for us to reinforce the message. I think that would help. And although you are in your car and although you were going from memory, if you can just look at the camera so we could connect with you. I was like, oh, can she look at us? Can she look at us? But I know you were probably like distracted by a billion things going around you, but kudos to you for even giving that presentation with everything that's going on. I have nothing else to say. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I was looking for my capability statement. I was like, oh my God, where's it at? But I
in your mind.
Yes, it's you have to know what you do. So if you don't know, you have to, you got to sow into your business so you don't have to sell it. So when you're very passionate about your business, you're able to deliver it directly off the top of your head. So thank you so much for the feedback.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. Am I next? I'm trying to remember who's next. So that, again, great presentation here. And so I'm going to just build off of some areas of opportunity. Obviously, you mentioned that you started in 2019. And again, that's only a few years ago. So I would probably say, it's more the transition statement is saying, although that we're a new company or a young company starting in 2019, here's the credibility of why we're very successful. And you mentioned about, you 47 out of 50 states. I would probably say lead with that to build some of the credibility, because again, people are going to judge based on how many years you're in business. They're going to say the less years in business, the less experience they have. But the reality, you've proven that you've been very successful in that short period of time. And all the accreditations that you had and throughout all the states, that's makes us very impressed to say, hey, in that short period of time, this person has done quite a bit on there. So kind of put that credibility up front very quickly. And again, I know you're in your car, so you're doing this ad hoc here. So that would be one of the things. The second is, you mentioned about safe spaces. And I think safe spaces is a little bit kind of a generic term. And, if I was to ask you, well, what do you mean by safe spaces? Now, if you said, because certain individuals, for financial, they may have issues and troubles, whatever that may be, we offer a very private area or conversation because you understand what safe space is, but I don't think the audience knows what you mean by safe spaces. So put it in a way that the audience, because this is the first time we've seen your company, and then the credit solution is a category that some of us may not be very familiar with. That will also help us understand how you connect with your clients or customers. So I don't know if your customers are just average people on the street trying to build, or you work with companies. So help clarify that as you're making these presentations, so we get it.
Yes, sir. That's good feedback. Because safe spaces is a generic. We work with individuals from the underserved and beyond. So our target audience stems from underserved, but we work with corporate individuals, Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500 companies. So thank you so much. That's good feedback. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I like when you went into the employee retention program, and you obviously you gave us a number of loyalty increased 20%. That's the type of facts that you need to incorporate through whether your financial literacy, what are some of your successes, or success rates, whether you use credit scores as being a barometer of people improving their FICO score, or whatever things that you're doing to try to help them. Even if you're not doing it today, make sure that you're metricing all the things that you do, because sometimes we kind of forget that. We do the job and then move to the next job and move to the next job. And you may have these numbers already, but use these numbers to really make a even more powerful presentation to the audience, because then you can prove in 3 years, I've improved, make believe 322 people have improved their FICO score from 500 to 600, whatever that may be, those facts, similar to how you talked about loyalty increased 20% when you do the employee retention program.
Yes, sir. And I'm so afraid of time. I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't mention, like, we have 500, non-corporate, staff member, not staff, but clients. And we have utilized our every Tuesday night platform, Credit Tip Tuesday. I'm an admin in one of the largest Black credit repair groups on Facebook. So we utilize those platforms. We have changed lives from 500 to 700 FICO scores, and we don't use no software. We utilize straight knowledge, federal facts for credit laws for the consumers. We have put over 200 people in homes, been able to get their dream cars, their credit cards. I did miss that, but I was so afraid. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna run out of time. And I was like, probably nowhere near the time. So I definitely will incorporate that the next time, because that's the core base of our business. We don't judge on the how we improve. We don't judge on the why, we improve the how. So that's what we do.
And surprisingly, the reason why I know so much about that, you guys are going to laugh. In college, I was a debt collector for JCPenney, and I used to collect the entire balances that people owed. It could be thousands of dollars. So I know all these things. That's why I was asking you questions about the fact-based numbers, because that really will prove the great things that you're doing.
You always surprise us, Paul.
I know. I'm always surprised. I'm a jack of all trades. So
thank you so much.
From my side, I would just like to compliment what Caroline just said about the net presentation, even without a visual one, as it was a concern. Someone just typed this on the chat. You really showed us the big numbers and the big pictures, right? And present some cases, things that I missed in some presentations, or things that I'd like to see in presentations. You really showed us without any slide support, even with the personal difficulties you are facing right now. You really showed us everything that we need to see, everything that we need to know about, and actually we heard and we visualized everything. So I really appreciate your time, your passion, everything you gave in this presentation. Thank you again, Lynette, for your presentation. I really liked.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Lynette. We appreciate you joining us today to be our sixth and final presenter of today. So as we close out our presentation portion of the program, I'd like to see if the judges have any final thoughts before we take a short break before community and conversation. So judges, any final thoughts?
Just as a follow-up, right? I don't know if everyone usually does this, but what I would expect if everyone was pitching to me, right? Immediately as we disconnect, I would get an email from each and every one of you. This is the presentation. These are my contacts again, and make sure that you guys keep this conversation going. So I know I'm probably not going to be buying bees, right? But at the end of the day, that's how these connections continue to happen, right? So it's not just a one-off, but even if I'm not buying bees, I might know someone who is. So just make sure that this doesn't end here. I guess that's my message. But thank you. This has been great.
And Carolina, that's kind of neat because we talked about LinkedIn networking, and guess what? I could be at a party and someone talks about something similar, and Lynette, I could remember, oh yeah, I remember Lynette's company, capable of doing this for inner city, folks having financial problems. So it's great. I think what was great about this is that I also learn a lot from all of you, because we sometimes we think we've seen everything, and guess what? Some of you delivered in presentations in a different way, and I'll probably say, think of the style of presenting that you want to be. Okay, and there's many times where I will see somebody present and go, I wish I was a little bit more like them. Or I wish I need to deliver my capabilities in a better way. So pick up things that you like about many different people. And that's why today was kind of exciting, is because we had 6 different presenters. Everyone will present in a different way. Some of you may think, oh, I like that person. Well, that person wasn't that good. Everyone's going to have their own opinion, obviously. But pick up the things that you liked about each person to say how, Jonathan presented, or how Lynette presented, or how Kim presented. Think of those things and saying, how do I become a better and better presenter of my goods and services? So when I'm in a situation, whether I'm in an elevator, whether I have a formal RFP, whether I'm at a party, I need to have a different presentation ready to go when I want to sell my business. So make sure that you kind of think about these things as you go forward, and take this feedback as opportunity, not as criticism. I hate the word criticism. This is what I always tell people: constructive feedback. Okay, so whenever you talk to somebody who says, can I give you constructive feedback, use those words. If I say, can I give you criticism, do you think the person wants to listen to criticism? Okay, so think of the words that we choose also as we deliver feedback to people.
Thanks, Paul. And Jesus, I want to turn it over to you for final thoughts, but I just saw that Christine, you raised your hand.
No,
Did you have a question?
No, that's fine. Sorry, Christine. Sorry, Laurie. All topics covered. I really enjoyed the experience here, but everything well said here. No more additional comments from my side. Thank you so much. And then, sorry, Christine.
It's okay. I do have a quick question, if that's okay for Paul.
Yeah.
Paul, I'm curious if you can give maybe your best insight to what this coveted elevator speech is, because I will be honest with you, if you and I were in an elevator together, it would be the only time in my life I would pray for the elevator to break and stop, because I do not have a 1-minute elevator speech. So I would love to hear kind of what you would want to hear if we got stuck in an elevator.
Well, a funny story. Someone told me a story one time. They were in an elevator at a sales meeting, and they were going up the elevator, and the guy says to one of my coworkers, "So what do you do?" And so of course she started to say what she did, And then she turned to him and said, well, what do you do? And he goes, well, I'm the CEO of Johnson & Johnson. You know, so that's where I go is, so when you think about it, it says, you should know that, hey, I'm Paul Saltiel. This is what I do for the company. And some of my successes have been X, Y, and Z. And that's where you're preparing for that situation, because that you had that one opportunity to impress somebody. And so don't feel that you're bragging. See, that's the hard part when we try to sell, is sometimes we hate to brag about our successes. But if you're in a selling mode, you have to say, this is what I do for a company and why it's so beneficial. And this is the results I have for that company. You do have an interest, right? Again, that's what I said. It's being ready to say those things and not being reluctant to want to say it.
Great, thank you so much.